Good afternoon, everyone. This is a truly honor for us to have Sri Suresh Prabhuji join us, a former cabinet minister. He's handled multiple cabinet portfolios, and he's very passionate about the young leaders of India today. Right? He's been actively involved in various other initiatives across the country. He's been propagating how the youth can really propel the country into a different stage. And as we look at India being the third largest economy, right? We are on the way to become the third largest economy. In this era, what's more important is the leadership that will drive, from the young leaders side, how the young leaders can really drive the country to become the third largest economy. And today's session is titled as Investing in Young Leaders, Scaling Leadership for a Mega Economy. This comes at an opportune moment for us where India's demographic dividend, which we always kept complaining that it's not yielding the right dividend, but today if you look at it, India's demographic dividend is ripe with potential. Right? I have a lot of young founders who have been part of the Pitchathon, and if you look at those innovative minds, this is really exciting to see how India can really move into the next level of taking care of the global transformation, not just India's transformation, right? And this session essentially aims to empower the young leaders, how to mentor them. Sir is going to also talk about these young leaders who are going to drive the economic progress of the country, and with bringing in the element of innovation and inclusivity. While we talk about innovation, we can't have an inequality seep into it, right? We've had session about AI, we've talked about innovation, but what's important is when we have all of these new technologies come in, how do we ensure that the whole country is together? And this is where we need to, as young leaders, lead it with passion, perseverance, and also a lot of compassion. Right? While passion is important, I also want to have a lot of compassion built into it, and that is what Sir is going to walk us through about his ideas around how to really propel the country in this coming era. And we're also going to have discussions around the strategies and policies, how this can really enable the country to propel forward from here on. Right? May I now invite Director General of AIMA, Ms. Rekha Sethi, to introduce our speaker, Sri Suresh Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I can see that your minds are still somewhere else after a nice lunch, I hope. But could I have your attention, and could we just listen to the speakers instead of talking amongst ourselves? Thank you. I'm delighted to introduce a very dear friend of mine today, Mr. Suresh Prabhu. Mr. Prabhu, it is a privilege to have you with us today, and I really can't thank you enough. You changed your program and you accommodated your program to be with us today. I'm really very, very grateful that you have been able to join us for AIMA's first Young Leaders Summit. You're a dear friend and a great well-wisher of AIMA, and we have always counted on your support through many years now. We are all eager to hear your thoughts on developing young leaders and enlarging India's leadership pool. A distinguished policy architect, you have shaped several economic reforms in the country and introduced transformative policy innovations in many critical centers. You've been a member of the Parliament 6 times, and you have led 10 union ministries, including the Ministries of Environment and Forest, Fertilizers and Chemicals, Power, Commerce and Industry, Railways and Aviation. A renowned global strategist, you have influenced the course of international thinking and action on trade, industry and environment. You have been the Prime Minister Sherpa to the world's most powerful international bodies, G7 and G20. A keen academic, you are the founding Chancellor of Rishihood University and a visiting faculty at London School of Economics and Political Science. A much sought-after speaker around the world on diverse issues, you have delivered lectures on government policies, geopolitics, international trade, climate change, sustainable development, education, and so on in more than 120 countries. We want to tap into your immense knowledge and wisdom that you have gathered during your illustrious and diverse career, and we are looking forward to hearing your address on how India can invest in young leaders and scale up the country's leadership capacity for massive and still growing economy. Many thanks once again for joining us, Mr. Prabhu. And with these words, may I now request you to address all of us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, friends. I attended many programs in different parts of the world country. Also attended many programs of AIMA. In fact, I was just telling Director General Rekha Sethi that unknowingly, by mistake, I signed I owe you paper with her so that I owe it to AIMA to attend program whenever they call me. So I'm very happy to be here because the programs of AIMA are of top class and of real value addition that comes out of it. So for me, I learn a lot when I come and meet such programs. And in fact, it's always the other way around. People come here and speak and you are supposed to listen. If we change little bit of format, that youngsters will speak and elders will come and listen, world will be a better place. The problem is, we always feel that I know better than you and you listen to me. In fact, it is like a father who is just on his deathbed, calls his son and tells him, sorry my dear, I did my best to do everything possible for you and my family. But in the process of doing all that, I accumulated some debt, which now I'm going, so obviously you'll have to repay. The child won't mind, because child has experienced the love of his father. And child knows where the money has gone. So he'll feel, okay, it's no problem, it's my obligation to pay. But generally in society, it is not true. That when the elders in the society come and tell the youngsters that please do something better because this is your world. The obvious question the youngsters can ask an elder person, and rightly so, why did you do all this? Why did you create this mess for us to clear? If you had done something that you are telling me to do, I didn't have this big obligation, I would have been in a much better place. And that is really true, honestly, if you look at any situation. We use more natural resources than what was supposed to have been used. We created more and more stockpiles of armaments globally. We ensured that there will not be a peace in the world. And now, after doing all that, we'll come and tell them, oh, this is your job to restore peace. It is your job to make a better world. And environment is a big problem. How to correct it is also your responsibility. So this is so unfair to do that. But we have to accept the fact of life. That is what always happens. That it looks like the previous generations are responsible to create problems, and the younger generation has a responsibility to solve the problems. And I'm sure after a few decades, you will face a similar situation. One of you will come here and tell your children, other generation, please try to correct it. Now therefore the question is, why should we to begin with have a situation wherein we ask the generation to follow to solve the problems? Can we not create a situation wherein we will not create a problem to begin with? And therefore, if you really look at it, societal problems. Now, individual problems will always be there. You start a business, you lose money, you accumulate debt, and then that's a problem. You have a problem in personal relationship, whether marital or otherwise, that's a different problem. But can we not look at societal problems? Why should we create the problems to begin with? And therefore, the real issue would be, and that's a challenge in my opinion for education, is how do you make sure that we can actually have an early warning system of the problems that are likely to happen. The other day, I keep speaking every day on something or the other. Rekha knows that she must be wondering, she thought when she decided to be my friend that he's talking to some sane person. But then she must realize he's an insane person. My wife always tells me, When I was telling that day I'm going to a doctor, he said, which doctor? I said, dental doctor. He said, you don't a mental, not dental doctor. So I keep talking on many subjects all the time. So one of the points I just came to my mind and I was saying, look at it like this, that the first university of the world, where it was created is a debatable issue. But it's certain that first university was created several centuries ago. What is the job of the university? Is to study, to understand, to also create some models. Of course, that time the modeling may not be as sophisticated as it is today. But still we knew this. And if you look at it, all the problems that we are facing today happened after there are multiple universities in the world. There are top-class Ivy League universities, centers of excellence, and still the problems are coming. So what is the thing that we need to do? And in this AIMA Young Leaders Summit, you should actually, in my opinion, think only about one thing. Rather than solving a problem, how to identify a problem, whether it manifests itself as a problem, and to how to make them take corrective steps through various means. You can use social sciences, you can use technology. Now AI has come, the first session was on AI. How do you actually make, I hope AI itself is not a future problem. That's a different thing. So I'm not getting into that. But how do you then use all the tools at our disposal to find out and identify a problem before it becomes a problem? Again, I repeat, societal problems, larger global problems. And there really is a very important issue. I hope you all should think about it and debate on it and really work on that. Now today, I just asked Rekha ji, she said we have to talk about investing in youth, correct, no? For development of our future economy, something like that, correct? See, firstly, I am absolutely sure, and when I was a Commerce Industry Minister, I had actually prepared a roadmap as to how do you prepare and prepare ourselves to be a $5 trillion economy. Now, whether we have to prepare to be a $5 trillion economy, yes and no. Why yes? Because if you don't prepare, how will it happen? And why no? Is that the speed at which Indian economy will grow at a very modest level of even 6% will be a $5 trillion economy. It might take longer time than otherwise, and if you really work on it, it might even be hastened, the process will be faster, but still will become $5 trillion economy anyway. And then to become $10 trillion is another matter of time. So we'll become 5 and 10 for sure. But so are the other economies going to happen with the same case. See, China is 6 times of India's economy. And China's growth rate has slowed down to say 4%, 4.5%. But if you have 4% of $16, $17 economy, and if you are growing at 6% of $4 trillion economy, who is adding more output? So when US grows at 2.5%, people say, oh, US is only 2.5%, but 2.5% of almost more than $20 trillion economy. So therefore, reaching a particular level of 4 trillion, 5 trillion, 10 trillion is a matter of time. It is bound to happen, definitely going to happen, and I always believe in India. It will definitely happen faster because unlike other cases, if not all countries, at least few countries, we have entrepreneurs which no other country, not no other country is the wrong word, but many countries don't have. The entrepreneurship of India is simply phenomenal. You find any other person, he's always an entrepreneur. He's thinking about new ideas. He's trying to put all his efforts to make that idea happen. So entrepreneurship is fantastic in India, and therefore the new India growth story from now on, it has always been, of course, but it was always constrained by various controls that the government was imposing. Henceforward, the new development will happen through entrepreneurship of the people. And who will be that entrepreneurs? All the young people. The ideas are always born in the mind of a young person. He thinks about them. There's a story, as you heard, that a young boy is telling, I want to go and get that moon. He's telling his mother, whatever happens. So every child asks mother for something. Sometimes asks for milk, sometimes for food, sometimes for a toy. This boy is telling, I want to go and get that moon. So mother said, are you crazy? How can you get moon? But just imagine that idea that was born in that child's mind of going to the moon has happened in reality today. So the idea was born not in a grown-up child, that some PhD, postdoctorate person saying, I want to go to the moon. That idea was first born in the mind of a very young child, not even a child, an infant. So young children will always come out with new ideas. But the challenge is that you should not therefore discuss this idea with a person who will always discourage you that is a stupid idea. In fact, the best way, of course, to know that whether the idea is good or not, talk to somebody, and when you hear that is a stupid idea, that's your very good idea. I'll give you an example. When I was a railway minister, I used to go time and again from here, there, every place. So when I was on my visit to, I think it was South, one young, not young but middle-aged engineer told me that time we used to run trains called Talgo, which was made in Italy. And we are doing the trial runs because its technical name is train set. Because we wanted to find out how the speed can be increased on the existing track. It's cost effective, time saving. And then that person asked me, so why are you running this Talgo? We can make this. I said, what do you mean? He said, yes, I can make it. So when I came to Delhi to my senior colleagues, they said, sir, it is not possible. So then I was convinced it must happen, can happen. Because they are not saying no and this person is saying. So I called him for a presentation. They announced in my budget speech, in the railway budget speech, because I was the last railway budget speech was delivered by me. In fact, the first two full railway budgets of Modi government was presented by me. So in that I announced that will run a train called Train 18. You know what is the name of that train today? Vande Bharat Express. So that was the thing that we actually worked on, and I can give you hundreds of such examples. I am not here to talk about that anyway. Just came to my mind. So I am telling you that a future of India is very well secured. I mean, I can tell you hundreds of examples about how I got to know from youngsters like you. And luckily I was in the government, so I could put into action many of these things. Anyway, I had 10 cabinet positions. Each of that, I got benefit. In fact, before that, when I was chairman of the largest cooperative bank, when I was of course 31, one day I went and said, one young officer, he told me, so you are doing all this and you are, I have already started computerization. Why not we work on total computerization? This is, I'm talking about 1987, 8, just imagine. No bank had a computer. So then I of course talked to our clients at that time. So everybody said, what company you have chosen? This company nobody knows. And by the time you put everything in computer, this company will go nowhere, nobody will know where it has gone. You know what is the name of that company? Infosys. So their first product, Finacle, were used by us in my bank and we did it. But that's that apart. So today, I'm convinced that we are going to be a very large economy and that will be driven by entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurs will have to be necessarily youngsters like you. Only thing is that we have to provide that conducive atmosphere. Like you will be telling me how much difficulties you face when you are a young entrepreneur. So when I was Commerce Industry Minister, we had worked on that. I used to call all the regulators on one side and all the entrepreneurs on one side. Say fintech entrepreneurs, then who are dealing with regulation on financial services. Healthcare on one side and then medical regulators on the other. Just to remove regulation. So if you work on that, we'll definitely be growing at a much, much faster rate and actually solve societal problems. My request to you is, when we talk about a startup, you always think about some high-tech idea. Think about an idea which can even be scaled up even more than all these fancy startups that we talk about. All startups are good. I'm not even running down any of them. But I'll just tell you. See, we have so many social problems. We have a problem about water. We have a problem about sanitation. Just imagine a startup starts addressing those social problems for business. You're not saying that I am going to do it as a charity. If you want to do it, it's good. But that part aside, you can think about a business idea which can actually ensure that our societal problem will be solved. By doing that, what happens? Every startup, or for that matter, every business, their only preoccupation is customer acquisition. Here you have got a captive customer available. Because they're facing this problem day in and day out, the water problem, the sanitation problem, and so many other problems. So just imagine, you address those problems through an innovative solution. You already have customer base waiting to join you. So immediately you'll scale up your operations on a substantial level. So just think about taking a break from that unless I become very extremely high-tech and do something which only rocket science can understand, and then only the startup will succeed, it may be true. It's not that it's not right. But going beyond that, in India, you can have a huge customer base. In fact, I remember when I was in Modiji's government, but when I was in Atalji's cabinet, people will come and say, sir, demand is slowing down. And some economists will come and say, oh, there's only way. Why don't you go and penetrate rural economy? There are more customers there, which is absolutely true. But just imagine that at that time, you wanted to go into rural economy, and that's how many of these FMCG companies went there, seeing that great opportunity. But just imagine, we have such a large population which is deprived of such essential basic services, and if you offer them a product, what type of a scale-up and what type of a huge upside that your business it could have. So you should really think about it very seriously. Also, this $5 trillion economy, you must really take into account one very important reality. Even today, we are the 5th largest economy. So in terms of size, only 4 countries ahead of us, US, China, Japan and Germany. So forget the top 2, it will be difficult to go there in a near future. But remaining 2 are very marginal ahead of us, so we'll surpass them very soon. But even then, what would be your per capita income? All of you are just now have a smartphone, right? You can find out in a second. Just find out. What is per capita income of India? Just find out. My friend is doing that. No, that is per capita, in the terms of ranking. What is the ranking of India's per capita income ranking in the world? $129. So it is little even low, but anyway, let's take 129. Are you happy with this? That of 3rd largest economy, going to be 5th largest today, and our per capita income is 129. That makes any one of you proud? Does it make any of you happy? So you should focus on investing of youth in future. What you should focus on? How to increase per capita income. And if per capita income goes up, automatically GDP will grow. But if it was conversely true, then we are the 5th largest, our per capita income also should have been the 5th or 7th or 11th or 12th. So how do you do that? Think about it. Again, I had told you, I should not be speaking, I should be sitting there and listening to you. But I'm just giving an experience. Don't accept it, but just experience, reality. I don't know whether on this platform I've spoken before, but I'll just share that with you. When I was Commerce Industry Minister, I was also obviously concerned like this. So I said, can we do one thing different? I told you something like make addressing social problem as a business activity through startups. One part, but that's one part. But secondly, I was trying to deal this. If you make each and every district of India start growing at 5% more than what it is growing today. Suppose a district, Haryana, take next door, growing at say 7-8% today, grows at 11-12%. Or take district Muzaffarpur, which incidentally we have taken in Bihar. It is growing at 3% and you make an effort to make it at 8%. What would happen? If all districts start growing at 4-5% more than their normal growth, where will that growth will be ultimately going? All districts' growth will be the state's growth, all states' growth will be the national growth. So automatically national growth will increase by 4-5% more. But because you are focusing on district first, the district growth will happen in the district first, so people will benefit. We'll have to actually map the available resources in that district. What is the human resource? What are the natural resources? What are the kind of industry that can come up there? And if you do that, automatically first growth will happen in district and later on will happen. So first per capita income will grow and then automatically GDP will also grow. And we started this program, I'm not telling theory. I asked Indian Institute of Management to prepare the report because I said let them do it a very objective, dispassionate study. And we selected 6 districts. One in north was Varanasi, our Honorable Prime Minister's constituency. In south was Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh. In east, it was Muzaffarpur, Bihar. In west, it was Sindhurga Ratnagiri, which used to be my Lok Sabha constituency 4 times. And Solan in Himachal. Incidentally, I come from Himachal last night. I was telling you, I had gone to seek blessings of His Holiness Dalai Lama. So all these districts had the potential and they are growing. They are growing at that time. I wish that program could have continued. So it was a pilot project. If you do this all over, you can imagine the kind of change that can happen. And to do this, also importantly, today our target is decided at our national level. Once you decide district level targets, entire district administration will be focused on that because that is their primary responsibility. Today their only responsibility is law and order, making here and there, running. But now there will be economic growth will be their priority also. And then the alignment of district, state and central government happening at the same time, working towards a common goal. All these challenges or bottlenecks, many of them that you face as an entrepreneur will go because now he thinks that about this person's problem, if I don't solve, my target of GDP growth will not happen because where is your industry located? All these startups, somewhere they are located in some district or some city or somewhere. And there is no alignment of that administration to the national administration. So this we started actually. I used to go to all the districts, talk to the district administration, explain to them this. I did it as a mission. So I think you should think about differently. So youth have that capacity to think differently and work on a manner that can really transform our society, economy at the same time. And therefore we must have this target. How to make GDP grow, how much per capita income grow, how social disparity goes away, how we solve the social problems. Economic growth will happen, but our social problems will remain. How is it sustainable? And therefore, if you work on this, we can have a much, much brighter and better future. And therefore, I wish you all the best. I am actually a chancellor of a university where I'm supposed to go and do. That's the first time in my life I'm wearing, because they gave it to me. They say, you must wear this as a uniform. Other I never worn. I took oath 4 times as a cabinet minister. Always I was wearing shirt and trousers, normal clothes, nothing more. So I had to go there. But I want to congratulate you. Once again, congratulate AIMA and their young leadership. Rekha, of course, she's my real good old friend, for doing something like this year after year, engaging with youth, engaging with management professionals, engaging with all the stakeholders to come out with a real solution to the problem that we are facing today. And a real problem, if you look at it and oversimplify it, you can say management is the only problem. Everything else is not a problem. If you manage everything properly, it's not a problem. If you manage it wrongly, then we create more bigger problem than what we had before. So management has to be an intervention, and through which we can address this problem. So anyway, thank you very much. Congratulations, my young friends. I am sure in the years to come, I'll be able to see many of you shining as a great successful entrepreneurs. All the best to you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening words. I think he's given food for thought to all of us to path our own ways as youngsters. I would request Arun for his concluding remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to begin by expressing our heartfelt gratitude to Suresh Prabhu sir for sparing his valuable time and sharing his invaluable experience and inspiration with us today. Sir, your presence here today, despite your numerous commitments, is a testament to your belief in nurturing and investing in young leaders. Contrary to what others may think, stalwarts like you, those who have scaled great heights, are often the ones who are most willing to mentor and guide those who even have a small spark of greatness, even when they have not achieved anything significant. It is said that the universe loves a stubborn heart, and your encouragement today serves as a beacon for those striving to make a difference. You remind me of a profound quote from the famous movie Kung Fu Panda. When the student is ready, the master will appear. Your mentorship, sir, echoes this sentiment as you have graciously appeared to guide and inspire the next generation of leaders when we need most of it. During the keynote, you emphasized on the importance of scaling leadership to meet the demand of mega economy, fostering innovation, collaboration, and resilience among young leaders. You talked about AIMA adding real value to the entire, you can say, youth ecosystem. You talked about flipping the role, that is elders speaking, and from elders speaking to elders listening. You also talked about, laid emphasis on the fact that the Mother Earth has enough for everyone's need, but not everyone's greed. You talked about younger generation getting the blame of solving the problem, which has become a universal expectation, in which the elders create the problem and the young youth are expected to solve it, but that is something which is universal. And you talked about predicting the problem, which comes from prevention is better than cure. So if you predict the problem, a lot of these things would be solved in the first place. You talked about 5 trillion economy happening in future, having no doubts, but how fast can we do it? You talked about entrepreneurship being a catalyst in order to reach the $5 trillion economy. You also talked about that the ideas are born in the mind of a child. You talked about the example of Vande Bharat, which was initially appeared to be a stupid example, and it came out to be the most successful and well-known project in the railways. You talked about trusting in, you can say, young ventures like Infosys, when they were not Infosys as we know of, and building the most, you can say, best product when it comes to finances. You talked about focusing on not glamorous goals, but goals that creates an impact to the society. The goals which might not be AI driven, they are basic fundamental goals or fundamental problems, but these are the problems which can be scaled, and it can be scaled profitably. You talked about these small problems, which are the universal truth, having zero CAC. Customers are already there, you just need to solve the problem, which is the ideal case for any entrepreneur. And you also talked about not only growing to the third, you can say, biggest economy with respect to GDP, but also trying to grow to the third biggest economy with respect to the per capita income, and also focused on the goal mean approach, in which if the district tried to focus on improving themselves by 5%, then eventually the overall goal of the GDP would, India's GDP would increase. These insights will undoubtedly serve as a guiding principle for all of us, and we navigate the complexity of leadership in a rapidly evolving world. In closing remark, I'd like to share a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. I have learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. People will never forget how you made them feel. Sir, I have been a fortunate beneficiary of your kindness when you took the time to understand what we are building and shared your encouraging word in a mentorship session at AIMA. And while you might not remember that moment, but it meant a lot to us. Your example of leadership, humility, and genuine care is what the nation needs in its mentors. Platforms like AIMA YLC, with more than 400 distinguished mentors, offer young leaders the opportunity to learn from the very best, and your contribution today has further enriched this ecosystem. Thank you once again, sir, for your time, wisdom, and inspiration. And thank you, everyone who joined us for this insightful session. Let's take these lessons we have learned today and strive to scale new heights in leadership and excellence. With these words, I rest my case. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.